Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer in that order. Regular rollers time, let's do it. This week's list is brought to you by Greg Morris Cards. More on them coming up in just a bit. Let's get rolling. We'll start with one sent by Vladislav, who wrote, I wanted to share this 1936 vintage basketball card I recently got on eBay. It's from the 1936 set from the Olympics in Germany right before World War II. The set also includes Jesse Owens' presumed rookie card, which is probably the most famous card in the set. But the set also features this USA vs. Canada basketball team card. There's a high magnitude of significance to this card. It's the first year basketball was at the Olympics. USA won the first ever gold medal, and Canada won the silver medal. Wow, this card is really cool. I didn't know about it. And, as far as I understood, 1948 is the first sort of standard basketball set. This is like a basketball card that predates basketball cards. Very cool. And this one's obviously super sharp. SGC near mint 7, $80 in auction. Yeah, that's a nice historical piece right there. This one's not a sports item nor a card, but it's in the same family. Sent to by BPLC, who wrote, this is a confusing listing selling as a reprint, but it really makes it sound like the PSA authenticated hand-signed photo is original at a very, very cheap price. Yeah, this is an 8x10 photo of Brad Pitt, I guess from the movie Ocean's 11, and it's autographed there, and you can even see the PSA DNA sticker down on the bottom right, but this is just a photocopy of a 8x10 photo that is PSA authenticated. That is amazing. Yeah, look at the listing. This is just like completely misleading. Brad Pitt signed autograph Rusty Ryan in Ocean's 11, PSA DNA COA RP. Wow. If you take out the RP, which is totally hidden and meant to be missed, then this would be an original, 8x10 photo autographed by Brad Pitt with that tiny little RP hidden in there. They're trying to pass it off as, hey, I said it was a reprint. What's the problem? But yeah, these sort of listings, obviously, we've discussed on Regular Rows before, I feel need to go away. Next one sent by Ishmael, who wrote, I saw this card had less than an hour left and was only at $99 plus $4 shipping. 2015 National Treasure Signatures Emerald Aaron Donald Auto 4 out of 5. I decided to keep an eye on it and was willing to pay as much as $200 for it. I ended up getting for $165. I figure a second-year auto card of Aaron Donald out of 5. National Treasure seemed like a great hold. There weren't many comps on this card as it's only out of 5, but I've seen some of that were out of 50 go for around the 200 mark, so I figured this was a good bargain. I'm going to send it into SGC to get graded. Yeah, I think I've talked about Aaron Donald before on here. He's essentially the best defensive player of his generation, and I've definitely mentioned on here, in football, the idea where if you just don't focus on quarterbacks, you can get cards at a great price. Second year, like you said, second year auto out of 5. Aaron Donald from top brand National Treasures, of course, for $164. If this was a quarterback, the top quarterback Patrick Mahomes, second year National Treasures auto out of 5. I mean, this is thousands of dollars. And Aaron Donald historically will probably be just as great as Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Donald is the greatest defensive player of his generation. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback of his generation, but it's the value of the Donald is a fraction of the value of the Mahomes. So if you just don't focus on quarterbacks in your collection, your dollar will go a lot farther. This was sent by Thomas, who wrote, this submission is a sort of a convergence of a few ideas. One, my family moved to Kansas City in 2008, and that's when I really began to appreciate the rich history surrounding Kansas City baseball, which is, among other things, the home of the Negro League Hall of Fame. Two, I saw this complete 1986 Negro League card for sale several days ago. I don't like bidding early and then letting everyone outbid me. I remembered that you showed the Gixon eBay sniping site a while back, so I subscribed. Set up my bid to send last second and won. And number 3, if you like the submission, I would love to answer a couple questions. How would you value the set? Would you recommend breaking it up or selling it as a complete set? So I'm not actually familiar with the set, but very cool story. And to answer your questions, how would you value the set? Like I said, not familiar with it, but I just did a quick eBay search, and the last few sales of a complete set were all around $50 other than yours. So I think you got a good price here at $16 plus $10 shipping. And would you recommend breaking it up or selling it as a complete set? I mean, probably just keep it as, if you're looking to sell it, I would probably just keep it as a complete set. You could break it up and send all the cards to like ComC and see if they sell one by one over time. I don't know if that would work or not, but probably I personally would just keep it as a complete set if I was going to sell it. This was sent in by Jeffrey, who wrote, I get a kick out of these guys making art cards that look so close to the real thing. I was intrigued on how people make these cards and what machine is needed to put these images on these to make a buyer believe this is a real card. Yeah, I've talked about these before. I mean, you're allowed to make fan art and sell it, but I mean, this has got to be illegal, right? I mean, this is clearly made to look like a card. It has immaculate in the title. There's an autograph that looks legit, an NBA logo man. I mean, you're allowed to make fan art, but you can't. I don't think you can use the NBA logo or Utah Jazz or Immaculate from Panini. These are all licensed things, so I would assume this is illegal fan art. But there it is, listed on eBay for $50. The title is very misleading. Donovan Mitchell, NBA logo man, Immaculate art card. I mean, the only word there, art, that sort of tells you it's not a legit card is art, and it's really hidden sort of towards the end of the listing. This is not an NBA logo man. This is not an Immaculate. Those title words should not be on here. At least they didn't put autograph. That shouldn't be on here either. But I don't know, the legal rules or even the eBay rules with this sort of thing. But be aware of, fan art cards like this. Next listing is one of mine. I was the seller, and a lot of people ask, how do you prepare vintage lots for eBay? So I just thought I'd run through a quick tutorial using this one as an example. And I think it's very important with vintage lots to try to make them uniform in condition. Like, there are people who collect low-grade stuff. There are people who collect mid-grade and high-grade. But very few people want a mixed bag. They want sort of uniform, especially if you're putting sets together. So this would be like a very good item for someone who wants to start putting a 65 top set together. You get 69% of the set here. Everything's VGEX on average, and it doesn't vary that heavily off of that. And so that's sort of why I made the lot this way. It's targeting that sort of buyer. And you can see in the title I put 65 tops and 69% of the set and the average grade, and I mentioned that includes some stars. And in the description, go into it further with the minimum and the maximum grade, again with the average, and again a little more details, and provide a bunch of pictures. Here's the overall view. Here's some close-ups of the stars. Again, no real major stars from this set, but these are all Hall of Famers, or mostly Hall of Famers here. But none of the big names like Mantle or Mays or Aaron or anything like that. And then a couple of pictures just to sort of showcase the quantity of cards. And then this last picture I put in here just to show that there's high numbers included. There were quite a bit of high numbers, so wanted to make sure the buyer was aware of that. So that's just sort of how I organized this particular lot. Went for $510, which I think that's a pretty good price for the buyer here for 69% of a mid-grade 65 top set. This was in by Paul, who wrote, I wanted to let you know about a card I just purchased. It's a Tony Gwynn and Cal Ripken dual patch card limited to 200. I bought it for just under $20 with shipping and fees. I think a card like this is a steal for the price and is a much better way to spend $20 than on an ultra-modern, overprinted card of someone we won't know anything about in 10 years. Yeah, definitely pandering to me here, as I'm a huge Cal Ripken fan, so obviously like this submission. And yeah, I totally agree. Nice dual patch card of two all-time greats. Ripken and Tony Gwynn were two of the best players of their generation for sure. Over 6,000 career hits, maybe closer to 7,000 career hits represented on this card. And numbered out of 200, that's not super rare, but it's 15 years old and numbered out of 200. That's starting to get into, semi-rare territory. You probably don't see this card pop up very often. And yeah, dual patch, and yeah, under $20. I mean, I would say that's a much better way to spend $20 than on some, prospect who has a 10% chance of panning out. This was sent by Dave, who wrote, I enjoy completing sets that I began as a young fan growing up in a small Michigan community. I recently picked up 2 cards of Hall of Fame pitchers for my 73 Topps baseball set. Both are 300-game winners, and both accumulated more than 3,000 strikeouts over their respective careers. I thought $11 for both in excellent condition was a fair price. Picked them up from Greg Morris Cards, who always provide accurate descriptions and timely shipping for my money. So a number of you have been sending in Greg Morris submissions recently for the regular orders, which, hey, that's convenient for me, as it nicely leads me into my my sponsorship. But these 2 cards look really, really sharp. Nice eye appeal, especially on the front. I guess on the back maybe there's some things that would bring it down to the X-Mint level, but nice cards. And again, yeah, like you said, 2 Hall of Famers in solid upper mid grade, and yeah, these are 40 years old now, $11. But as I mentioned, Greg Morris Cards is sponsoring this episode, and they are one of the most trusted names in all the hobby, especially for selling raw vintage. Their descriptions are incredibly accurate. They're strict with their grades, so if you buy a card that's X to X Mint, it's going to arrive X to X Mint or better, and you're going to be happy with that in that case. And they have solid customer service, incredible eBay feedback, and they come with my highest recommendation. I've included a link to both their eBay store and their website in the description below. This was sent in by Guy, who wrote, check out this Don Bradman graded a CGA 5, whoever that is. There's no way this would be a PSA 5. Maybe it gets a 1 or 2 at the most, but it's a great example of just how low the standards are for these CGA or other smaller companies sometimes. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you said. Now, it's not always the case. In fact, a lot of these companies, that aren't one of the big 4, I think do a pretty good job grading modern cards. But with vintage, a lot of them just do not know what they're doing, and this is a perfect example. I mean, this is not a mid-grade X EX card. It's got all sorts of surface issues, very, very dirty around the border and edges. The back, same thing, all sorts of surface issues. This card is maybe a 2 or something like that from one of the big 4 major grading companies. So be aware of that, and I think it's especially true when you're dealing with vintage. I think a lot of the newer companies don't know how to handle grading vintage. So here's a sale I just wanted to highlight just to sort of talk about the hobby over the last few years and PSA. And this is the type of card. This is a 2018 Topps Update Ronald Acuna rookie. It's a PSA 9, and this is his Topps flagship rookie, and he's obviously a major star in the league. But this is a very, very common card. I mean, it was very, very mass-produced. And this, before the pandemic, you would have really needed to get a 10 in order to make your money back on a card like this. 9s just weren't worth a whole lot, and with a $10 grading fee, you really needed to get a 10. But then when the price boom hit of 2020 and 2021, everything was just shooting way up, and especially cards like this, young active players and their rookies. And I think PSA 9s were going like $50, $60, $80, $100. So now it just made sense for everyone to send these in, and everyone was just flooding PSA with cards like this. 2018 Topps Update, Ronald Acuna rookie. And I mean, this is actually one of the better ones. There were much lower end rookies who were, PSA just got flooded with. And at some point, the market just got oversaturated. There's way too many Topps Update Ronald Acuna PSA graded cards out there. So they just can't hold any value. And today, this card in a PSA 9, this one sold for $13. I mean, this wouldn't even cover your grading fee today. PSA is currently at $18. If you sent this in to PSA and got a 9, you would be losing money just on the fee, let alone what you paid for the card. This isn't even a card I would consider sending to PSA in present day environment, even if you're going to make money on a 10, because PSA is much stricter about giving out 10s now than they were. But nothing more to say about it, just sort of the quick summary of the last couple of years. This was sent by Jesse, who just wrote, offered $20 and the seller accepted. It's a little beat up, but seemed like a good pickup. Yeah, I totally agree. 1963 Fleer Willie Mays. This is a very legit Willie Mays, actually a mid-career card. And yeah, I guess it's low grade, but it's not that bad. I mean, I don't know, might even be like a 3, or I obviously can't tell for sure, but really doesn't look that bad. I mean, I think this is a great pickup for $20, and especially if you're like a collector. I mean, you got an original Willie Mays card here for $20. That's pretty cool. And I've said this, low grade cards of the all-time greats, especially in these era, Mantle, Aaron, Mays, Clemente, whenever I have them for sale, they always sell really, really fast. So there's a lot of collectors that like this sort of stuff. They want to have an original Willie Mays card, and yeah, they don't want to break the bank, and here's a great example of doing that. $20 for a 1963 Fleer Willie Mays card. Just as a side note, PSA 1s sell for $40, so I think you got a good price here. And we'll finish on a vintage bargain. This was sent by Joe, who wrote, I thought this was an absolute steal for a Hall of Fame rookie card, and I might get this one graded so it can be officially instated into the Blazer division. It showed up today, and I think a 7 would be a reasonable grade for the card. It looks perfectly centered and has a real sharp eye appeal. No creases or dings on the surface. Any 80s kid like you or me always enjoyed watching Webster, and Alex Karras played the dad perfectly on the classic 1980s sitcom. I feel this card has a lot going for it, being a Hall of Fame rookie card in tremendous shape, as well as an established beloved character actor from the movies and television. Yeah, totally agree, although I don't think it would have a chance at a 7. I think the corners are probably a little bit too soft for the 7 level, but very, very solid mid-grade card with great eye appeal, centered perfectly, like you said, and Hall of Fame rookie from 1959. I mean, vintage football just, can get a lot of bang for your buck compared to baseball. There is no baseball vintage Hall of Fame rookie from the 1950s that you can get for $10 for a solid mid-grade card, not even close, So yeah, $10 here, I would call that a vintage bargain for sure. But that's it for this week's regular rollers. Hope everyone enjoyed, and thank you everyone for coming out and saying hi at the Chantilly show. That was great to meet a whole bunch of you, and looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks everyone.